Late. I'm late for a very important date. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late. I'm very late. No time to say hello, goodbye. I'm late. I'm late. I'm late. Um, uh, when you meet somebody and you know who they are, you try to encourage them to be a good person like you, and they won't do it. They willfully disobey you. They willfully just laugh at you and say you're crazy, and they're not doing anything brave like you're doing, and you're trying to get them to do it too. I tried that with Kelly Jack Green, right? And he made fun of me and said what a nut I was and all that shit, right? I tried to encourage him, if you always felt, Amy told me this, that you felt like you were like, and you had memories as if you knew, about Billy the Kid and all that, so if you relate to Billy the Kid, then you want to resist tyranny and stop all the, so you inside, you want to help me then, right? If he is like Billy the Kid, then Billy the Kid really wasn't worth a shit, and it was all just a bunch of legends to make him seem like a good guy, but he was just mostly selfish. It was mostly about him. But if he could get into it with somebody to make it look like he was the good guy, he was down with it, right? See that guy? He ain't with you no more. He's killed so-and-so. Yeah, he's killed me too, right? And so, I'm the type of guy, like King David, I don't want to kill anybody. But like I told the people in Sierra Vista in military intel that invented the cartels for their jobs, right? I said, you can take my money and go off to Mexico with it, and I'll get over it, and I'll make more to pay you to live here. You take my daughter and you put her in a brothel, I'll hunt you down and I'll fucking kill you. I'll keep doing it till the end of time, right? I'm the gracious good shepherd, right? I'll go leave the flock and go out and then celebrate as if I saved the whole flock, right? But it's, the shepherd is. And life's eternal and grace is infinite. And if you show up at my door, okay, and you can't speak too good, and you're almost like a baby possessed, I'll take you in and love you. But guys, she was 9 months old, so they could do technological projections off of her grandmother and her mother and physically how she might turn out looking, and knew, okay. And me and Amy's family were connected through prayer for a reason. Because, people with certain hearts, like hearts, connect, especially women to men. Because women seem to go out looking for men that's Mr. Right more than men go out looking for. We know they out looking for us. So our job is make ourselves available and be Mr. Right. Okay? Do you understand? In Hebrew, in Hebrew tradition, in Hebrew social convention, right? She has to choose you. Right? You have to be the one that she chooses. Will you marry me? No. Okay. She can say no, The candle of Kirk Douglas pretending to be Vincent van Gogh, right? Come marry me. I'll go to no. Right? So you can't take what you want. She has to, if you offer and she says yes. If I say yes, if she says yes, right? So you can't, she can say no. And you have to accept that. And you have to go. I suppose I ought to say congratulations, for you've won the only girl I'll ever love. Right? Okay. So, when you have people, okay, that are preoccupied with their egos and have no time for humility and no time for faith, you got to kick their ass. Okay? Kelly ain't dead. Kelly's alive and well, like Bob Zinkus. And I'll kick Bob Zinkus' ass, because if Bob Zinkus keeps acting like an ass, that affects Mallory, and that affects Tori, and then that affects Aiden. Because that's his sisters, and he adores his sisters. And who wouldn't? Mallory's one of the sweetest person you ever met. And Tori. Little Tory. Right? And so when Wembanyama gets mad, he does some dumb things. Boy does some dumb things. That elbow and then that lean into Caruso. If they get you mad, man, just get over. The best way to get back at them is win the game. Okay, don't take pot shots at them. They ain't going to do no good. They ain't going to do your team no good. Best way to get up, the whole reason they jumping in your head and beating you up and hitting you in the nuts and shit like that is because they know they can get you to lose it, right? That's why they do that shit. That's why I used to do the stuff with James Winfrey. James, I'm going to steal it. And Alan Sweets and Alan. Was it Kevin Simmons? On the coach, let me go on and guard that white boy. Yes, I can't stop my. What makes you think you stop me? And I was on the and they were following me everywhere, and I had open teammates everywhere. And the coach took me out. Yeah, I know. I was sabotaged by my own teammates that were jealous of me. That happened to me in junior high. It happened to me in high school. It happened to me at Deer Valley, or Chenevere and Lausanne's and Robbie Feinberg and stuff. And they would sit there, and I would think, I can't keep up with these guys. And then finally, I just said, "Fuck it, I'm going back door." He's denying me the pass all the way to the sideline, and Lausanne won't throw it if I And so I went back door. He threw it out of bounds, and then told me that hey, you weren't where you're supposed to be. I said I went back door. Because he was overplaying me all the way to the sideline. So I had everything was wide open, and he's 25 feet from the basket. He's denying me the ball 25 feet from the basket. So, as hard as he can. And we were supposed to stay in the office, and I said, fuck that. I keep coming out here. I can't go anywhere but just out. So I said, fuck, because the way old Kendall was telling us to run the offense. I said, fuck this. They're chumping me. So I just went back door. I was right past the foul line, faster than you could say, look, his spit. He threw the ball out of bounds. And then he yelled, and he said, you're supposed to catch the pass. I said, he was overplaying me. So I went back door. And Kendall goes, we haven't worked that into the offense yet. I was like, what? Coach Sewell taught me that in 6th grade. And then I got in trouble. And I knew I was telling him, you need to get your boys in check. They bitching us. And Zels knew it. Bobby knew it. Everybody knew it but Coach Kendall. When they bitch and they're running the offense to a T because they can't do anything but. Okay? I guard him. He can't do anything unless I allow him to. Which means, shut down corner. No. He ain't getting the ball. Right? He ain't getting the ball. Right? And I did that with a lot of guys. Because you want to win, so go to somebody else, Now, James was very good. James Winfrey was a good ball player. He got a scholarship to Black Hill State, okay? And he's only about 5'6" or 7. Okay? That's why he got a scholarship to Black Hill State, right? But he was a good ball player. And so I used to, Dad used to tell me, when he's running like hell to catch you, just stop it. He'll run right into you. And it happened. I had him with 3 to 4 fouls in no time. Because he was freaking out because this white boy, well, he thought I was Mexican. This Mexican's faster than me. It's like, yeah, I'm faster than a lot of people. Get over it. I can turn it on and off whenever I want. And the coach thought I was lazy. I was like, no, Gus Williams, Walt Frazier, and Lenny Parra, because I know Gus learned it from Walt. How to bait the defender to make it look like you ain't trying and like you slough it. And then they come up and they get cocky, and you turn around, it's yours. There it is. You showed me the basketball. I used to do that to guys all the time. And the coaches thought you were being lazy. It's like, no, I'm taking advantage of their arrogance and their coaching. They're always moving 90 miles a minute even when they don't need to. Asian players are a lot like that, because that's how they're trained. It's part of their social conditioning. And Suzuki, and so you say, yes, that's how they're, always be, and it drains way too much energy, and it wears you out. And if you train well, you don't have to train excessive and compulsively. And if you're just naturally quicker than the other guy, you don't have to kill yourself or break your back trying to beat him. You just say, anytime you want your ass, just come on over. Came in last night, 10:30. That woman of mine wouldn't let me in, so moving on over. Moving on over, because the big dog's moving in. I'm just being silly. But on my but no, you guys, when you have a virtual presence in my house, and you don't think people are grieving properly over other people that have offended on them, that they never met, they didn't even know their name. Okay? Dad didn't know Ira's name until I just told him tonight. That was his name? I said, yeah, Ira. Didn't you hear? She used to always tell me we were gonna name you Ira, but Dad didn't know the guy's name. And I was like, yeah, he committed suicide. He went to a hotel after Mom didn't leave. And he laughed. And I get all this back from all the, because he was on Facebook when he did it. So all the metaverses are laughing, right? Oh, what a horrible man your old man is. Okay, but you're business partners with the people like Ezra Taft Benson that had the insider trading information for the Martha Stewart of Las Cruces, New Mexico, Homer Jordan to, rip off my family of what they had. All my parents, within the next 3 months later, would have known they were sitting on almost 3 acres at $40,000 an acre. Okay? You know what my dad and my mom would have been able to do? With just the land that Miss Chisholm sold them for $13,000 in 1970, that by 79, the land itself was worth over about $100,000. Yeah, because it was 2.5 acres. That's $100,000 right there, just the land itself. So he gave him 55 for the house and the land, and he got all the cheap stuff from Mexico with all his buddies, like on Charlie Chan and the Gold Mine, Goldeneye, right? And then turned around and sold it for almost $1 million. And they split the property up and they put another house on the front end instead of letting it out for cash croppers to put for cash cropping for chili and cotton. There's a house there now because the land's so expensive, right? And so, if you guys are such fucking assholes, but you have the audacity to judge him on his reaction. Okay, you guys judge my father. You have a virtual presence in his house. You manipulate him with make-believe money and really fucked up abusive science projects, and then you think he's a bad person. Okay, and then I'm washing down the house to get the pesticide stuff if it's in there. I smell something chemical, so it might be on the screens. And I get, didn't Jesus play God by telling his brother-in-law to keep the Sabbath holy with his sister and provide a body named John and all that? That's because he was talking to us. Okay. If you bastards had stood up for the Lord's Prayer that day, do you think it would be necessary for Jesus to fulfill prophecy by talking to his brother-in-law to provide a body for the spirit named John for the Hebrew people? To save the Hebrew people from genocide by attracting the attention to him instead of killing off as many Hebrews as they needed to because they couldn't figure out which one it was? Why do you think Jesus would tell him to do that? Okay, like the time when I went to go talk to Gabe and Jesus told me where to go, and then you guys were sitting there going, this is self-fulfilling prophecy, and Jesus tells me all prophecy is self-fulfilling, or it takes self to fulfill it. And you're like, what? It's like, yeah. And the only reason we had to fulfill this prophecy is because you bastards won't stand up for the Lord's Prayer. And I asked you during the Obama administration to do it, and you told me it wasn't time yet. And then you turn around and say, me and Gabe and we're a bunch of egomaniacs inventing this narrative that you guys, and I told you guys many times, the devil and Satan, okay, they make the news. I just report it. They'd stand up for the Lord's Prayer. I wouldn't be talking about this shit. If they stood up for the Lord's Prayer, people would be talking, there'll be no lights in the sky. It's cruising in Phoenix on a Friday night in the 1980s. Get over yourself, right? And then later in prayer, he connected to me and Patrick. And Patrick, look at all these stars in the sky. Because we were in the boot hill of New Mexico, which is not Phoenix, right? And there's stars galore, It's like going to Namibia. Oh, look at all them stars. It's the same in the boot hill of New Mexico. Oh, look at all them stars. They're the Milky Way. It's just like that. There's no night pollution. It's out in the desert. It's gorgeous, right? You go up to Phoenix, there's 7. 7 stars tonight, Dad. I know. It's shit. And it freaked John out in prayer. It's like, how can there be no moon out and only about 30 stars in the sky? It's Phoenix. We live in Phoenix. Can you imagine explaining that to somebody in a cave in North Africa in the 1st century? What? I can see through your eyes, and I'm looking up in the sky, and there are no stars. What happened to all the stars? Did they go away? Have the stars? Is it David Gates and Bread? And one by one, the stars will all go out, and you and I will simply fly away. Yeah, we'll call it the Apollo 13th, 14th, 15th, the 7th time. It won't last, but it's all right. Right? So, shimmy, shimmy, cocoa bop, shimmy, shimmy. Man, I'm glad I'm single. Right? Because they're such fucking assholes. You judge and you judge and you judge. You abuse people. And then you watch them try to survive their abuse and make sense of it and try to make sense of their emotions and their feelings because you haven't given them the Lord's Prayer a day in your rotten fucking lives. And we've been doing this for probably about 10,000 years. And you blame the people that are abused for their reactions to their abuse that seem abusive or apathetic or selfish. Right? If I found out that Oscar became an alcoholic and died, I would be sad for Kate. Okay. But I talk the truth about Oscar. Maybe he'll listen and go, I am an asshole. I should go to Phoenix and see how Kate's doing and give my beautiful, sweetheart, little protecting daughter a hug. She's probably taller than he is because of his mom. Oscar's only about 5'6". Kate might be taller than him. Her mom, big kids, yeah. Amy has big kid gene. Natalie's like 5'9" or 5'10". And Kelly's 6'5", so it makes sense, right? And Amy's about 5'7". And Noah's about 6'3". And Emily's about 5'7", or maybe about the same height as her mom, and so is Kate. So they're bigger kids. They're bigger girls and bigger boys, I used to always joke and say, WWE wants Amy's kids, right? And then I also said that people laugh. They love this one. It says, my wife's kids are Adolf Hitler's wet dream and Louis Farrakhan's worst nightmare. It's funny. People hear that and they'll crack up. It's like, yeah. Because, Robert Nate Nice. Man, damn, Dad. Your kids make white kids look dark. It's like, they came out of mom? Yeah, that's Emily and Noah. Yeah, they're Amy's babies, right? They're Amy's babies, right? And it's cute. No, I say, Parsons, this is truth. Amy's kids are Louis Farrakhan's worst nightmare, and it's a wet dream. They came out of the brown girl with the dominant genes, and they have recessive genes. Yes. Wow, it's pretty neat. I think it's neat. It happens with brown folk too, guys. You get what are quote unquote called albino blacks and stuff, and they came out with golden hair. They come out with their mama's physical characteristics, but they got daddy's light genes. And then what do the Andrews say? You're special. You have a heart of gold, Raymond. You're the golden child. You have a heart of gold. Okay. You're a sweetheart. And he believes it? Well, because he is. And they told him that, and he was. He was the sweetest guy. Kick his ass. I can't. What would Dr. King do? You're such a sweetheart. I got to forgive him. I got to turn the other cheek. That's what my grandma and my mama told me. So sweet. I loved Mrs. Andrews. We never got to meet. I met his little sister and I met his little brother, who were both brown as mama, right? I saw pictures of mom. She was very pretty. And he told me, and I believe him, he said that Debbie Morgan was his godmother. That they grew up together in the same area and stuff, and that they were friends, and that Debbie Morgan was his godmother. I was like, that is so neat. I got a big crush on her. She has the coolest dimples, right? Remember her from, she wasn't, I forget what character she was in Roots. Irene Cara was I Should Worry, I Should Care. I Should Marry a Millionaire. She's the one who married one of my favorite actors, Darian Haywood. Simon Haley was one of my favorite people. It's not much a character. He's one of my favorite people from Alex Haley's history. Okay. Simon Haley's he can admit when he's wrong. He questions things if they think they're wrong. He adored Booker T. Washington, but he got confused by Du Bois' criticism of Booker T. Washington. But the thing about it was I explained to people, it's easy for a guy protected by Ivy Leaguers because of his intellect and they're black person who they've trained to be white, to criticize Booker T. Washington trying to protect black people from vicious whites that will lynch them from a tree if they even look at their daughters or their wives. Massachusetts was way different because of abolitionists than Alabama. Okay. Booker T. Washington was one of my favorite people to connect to in prayer. When I was in college, I read up from slavery. I didn't read it very much of it. I didn't have to. We talked in prayer. Same with Harriet Tubman. That's why the guy from the psychology department at the University of Chicago freaked out on me so much. It's like you know him. I do. Life's eternal, grace is infinite. I'm the guy from the Book of Revelation. Right? I know people. I know lots of people. And I don't have Eckhart Tolle on speed dial or Oprah. I have talked to Oprah. I don't hate Oprah. You guys, a lot of you, she's this horrible person. Oprah Winfrey is a very scared and lost person. Okay? That gets vilified. She's one of these evils. She's like, and they did the same thing with Michelle Obama. She's the spirit of King Tut's auntie and all this stuff. It's like they could be related. I don't know, but no. All these people, how horrible they are. Oprah wanted to be loved. And Oprah wanted to be protected. And I knew one of her relatives. Okay. Does Tara give you any yet? Mr. Winfrey, that's not appropriate, That would be hard to live with. It would be hard if he had uncles like that. And that would be difficult. Okay. Guys, I have Uncle Donald, and I adore Uncle Donald. Is that a negra? Yeah, Grandma. But it's legal in 38 states, so it's okay. Don't be talking that kind of stuff and disrespecting your grandma. She's talking crap about my girlfriend, and I'm not appreciating it. This is archaic bullshit. Well, you got to understand. I don't have to understand when people are talking irrational, archaic gibberish to me and insulting someone I care about. And I care about her too, but I don't want my grandma to be an ass in front of people that are good people, and judging people by the color of their skin. I was kind of mad. I was a teenager, and I was about 15. I was kind of pissed. And him and Dad took me outside, and Uncle Donald tells me, I know what it's like. I've wondered what it was like to have sex with myself. And I was like, no, Uncle Donald, it's not like that. It's like she was one of the prettiest girls in all of Casper, Wyoming. She dated your goofy nephew. But the thing about it is I was I was an anti-bully. I was charming. I was always the best dancer at all the schools I went to. I was always the best athlete. Okay. So yeah, it was only natural that one of the more pretty girls in the track athletes asked if I wanted to be her boyfriend, right? She asked me. None of the rest of the girls did. They didn't. LaTanya Joshua could have asked me. I probably would have said, yeah, that'd be fine. Okay. But she never did. She didn't, we joked and we flirted, but she never did. And then when I was dating Tara, she was like, you mean all I had to do was ask? It's like, yeah, I would have probably said, I like you. You're fun. We could get together and hang out sometime. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that at all, girl. That'd be fine, And so, yeah, if LaTanya had asked me out before, Julie was dating Walter. That's why Walter hated me. I tried to talk Walter into coming out for the basketball team, but he was working for Prano. And he was selling drugs, right? He's working for Prano. So, well, why don't you just take a break and play some basketball and try to get the basketball thing going? Who knows? Maybe you could go to a college too. That's for chumps. You have to listen to those coaches. Those coaches are assholes. And you want to criticize Danny and Prano and Walter? Okay. I was one of the nicest kids ever on a basketball team. I could coach the team at 14 better than the coach. Okay. I was able to cause conditions, stepping outside of the regimented coaching, to cause all kinds of opportunities through my teammates by psychologically profiling the other coach and the other team. And I was excellent at it. All right. The other coach knew it, and Charlie knew it. And the coach at East, they were beating themselves, probably because the coach at Natrona promised Bud and Jimmy starting roles next year if they didn't let that drug kid win. Because I wasn't dating Tara yet. No, but I was hanging out with Raymond. And I was hanging out with Tim Trang, whose cousin was the associate drug dealer that ran the town with... okay, never mind. I get it now. Okay. So, no, Home was not a drug dealer. Home was the valedictorian of Natrona High School and went to college. And, yeah, no. Home tried his best to be a very good person, to use his mathematical abilities and his abilities to protect people. You know, he was like that guy from the Wind River Indian Reservation, you know, to be a modern warrior and learn how to use their laws and their linguistics to protect your people from their people. Just forgive debt and trespass, love one another, in eternal faithful peace, and holy jihad, Batman yourself and protect yourself from yourself, all right? Boom, ba-da-boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-da-boom, boom, ba-doom, ba-na-na-na-na-na. Oh, man. No, the weaponry I'm is a good player. Okay. But talent-wise, I think any of you guys can watch and stuff like that and agree that Ralph Sampson was a more gifted player. He just didn't, he was a cancer like me, and he just wanted to take care of his family and get home and, and didn't want to be a circus gimmick for 100 games a year. And for about 4 or 5 years before his knees started breaking down, I mean, he was spectacular. The man had a 38-inch vertical leap. Okay. He could jump higher than Wilton Norman Chamberlain. Okay. He handled the ball better than Chamberlain. He could shoot mid-range and outside jumpers better than Chamberlain. Okay. He was a good free throw shooter. He could block anybody's shot. He could do anything and everything he wanted to. Okay. He just didn't have a competition problem like Michael Jordan. Ralph Sampson was very cool. I totally enjoyed him. And I enjoyed Kareem. Okay, Kareem was more. I don't think Kareem had a competition problem. Kareem just had a hunger from coming from Nigeria and poverty and stuff to be successful, to help people that were being exploited and abused. Okay, that's what drove Kareem. Not Kareem, Akeem. Sorry, Akeem. Right. And Kareem was from New York, in the boroughs of New York, so it was rough. Okay. Ralph came from Virginia, and it was very rough in Virginia, Booker T and W.D. Du Bois, right? But Ralph was big from that time, and he was in the right place at the right time, and they knew, right, well, that young man's going to play basketball. It just so mattered. It just recently, Earl Lloyd and Bill Russell and all them fellers are, So he just came at the right place at the right time. And then everybody, Sports Illustrated was there, ESPN was there, all the books and the people, and it was like being Tommy Edwards, but in a better place and a better time, because you were now Michael Jackson, right? And so, yeah, that's what he was. And so that's what happened with Ralph. And then a lot of people, saw him as Goliath, and he wasn't. He was a 6'4" kind of guy, that one of the 250 that would have followed David and said, okay, I'm a little scared, but let's do this because I'm the biggest target. Well, then I need you to stay in the back so you can keep your family safe if anybody gets by me, and keep your head low and don't get hurt, because you're a good guy, but you're a big target and I don't need you up front. Okay, you're 7'4". You're like Mr. Garnett. One of the best things about you is you can change light bulbs without having to use a ladder, Ralph. I don't want you to get your head blown off. You stay back here. Why do you think they don't let people in the Navy that can't fit into submarines? Why do you think they don't let people in the Air Force that can't fit into a cockpit? Okay? And they don't let people 7'4" in the Army, because they'll be the first one to get their head blown off because they're a bigger target. Okay? My grandpa was 5'5". He killed more people than Audie Murphy, probably in Mexico. Okay? Way before World War I and others, right? Oh, yeah. So, it was horrible what happened to him. and why he felt he had to do that, why it happened. Now, the thing, well, Webb, I know he just hit a 30-foot jump shot and it went in. But the thing about it is he was trained and practiced that his whole life because it was considered a acceptable shot because he's 7'5" or so. Okay, Ralph Sampson's time, we didn't even have a 3-pointer. His job was go down to the basket and dunk. Block and dunk, dunk and block and dunk. Like they did with Kareem. With Kareem, they outlawed the dunk because Wilt was so dominant, and Kareem was even lighter on his feet at certain times and smoother. Which that's not necessarily was always the case. You know, Wilt was a track star and he bragged about it a lot. It's like, well, yeah, he could cover how many yards with each step. Okay, so he was big and fast and can move and stuff like that, but no, he wasn't as quick as Bob Cousy or Nate Tiny Archibald. Okay, if Kareem tried to guard Nate Tiny Archibald 20 feet from the basket, he'd have fell on his. Wilt did. Kareem never tried. Okay, no, it'll make me trip and fall on my ass. Okay, I ain't having that now. I'm not gonna embarrass myself trying to take him on in his zone. I'm gonna make him try to break into the basket, and I'm gonna send it in the cheap seats and say, no, Tiny, don't bring that in here. You know. And then there's Earl. Oh, Earl, you could, jump up in the air and okay, I'm flying in the air and I'm way up and I'm being propelled by your energy in your body, and I'm gonna dunk on Bill Walton's head just like Julius Erving, right? Because I have to cup it, and I got to get way the fuck up there. When you have somebody that big and all that energy from stuff, you can jump even higher, and so you can get the ball. You know, so like I said, I used to bruise up near my forearm and stuff like that, practicing my dunk at the park. That means I could really jump when I needed to. And so if I had to go in, the coach said attack the hoop, and Akeem was there, I was like, I ain't trying to embarrass you or posterize you, Akeem. I love you. Okay. Assalamu alaikum. Wa alaikum assalam. Okay, thank you. I love you. That's a neat poster. A lot of kids are going to have that on their wall, especially Mexicans that think I'm an illegal immigrant that lies to La Negra. Orale. He sure looks Mexican, I know. Josie Alvear used to tell me that. You're one of us. You're Mexican. She's so cute. She's still so cute. I saw her recently around Christmas, and I still adore her. Okay, guys, I love you. We'll talk later, man. We'll probably talk tomorrow. We'll see how fast this one loads.